What's up, the squad? Back with another video. I've seen this house going down. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it right here, man. I'm telling y'all, things are truly, truly, truly horrible and sickening. They're now passing around messages saying, "Dear black people," and that white people aren't our friends. That is disgusting. Very disgusting that you got people spreading this around and sharing this. It's truly sad that people are like this. Obviously, especially about, what has happened, or what they think has happened, with the Nolan Wells situation. And again, we don't know anything right now. We don't know anything. And if somebody did something, like I've always said, got to face those consequences. But this right here is very much disgusting. Truly feel that way. And other people's obviously, they say this and say that, about me. Call me what you want to. This is disgusting. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You got it right here. April Chapman says this photo represents something far deeper than a dinner. During my time at Ocean Springs, I have had the privilege of getting to know some truly remarkable people, including members of the family whose sons have been publicly accused and implicated since Nolan Wells' passing. For the past 7 days, these families have carried a burden that is difficult to put in words. They have watched the names, reputation for people they love become attached to accusations and speculation, in the national narrative, all while grieving the tragedy that brought them to take place. So they have a meal, and right here I wanted to also say, because it's real. Community is not limited to the people who share the same, share your skin color, background, and politics, life experiences. Sometimes community is formed among people who may not look alike, but recognize something sacred in one another. Our shared humanity and our responsibility to pursue what is true. And truly, that's real. I don't care what anybody say. It truly is. I'm telling y'all. Says, I came to Ocean Springs to listen, to ask questions, and to understand. What I've encountered were real people carrying real pain. People have welcomed me, trusted me, and allowed me to sit with them in one of the most difficult seasons of their lives. I will never forget that we shared around the table, different faces, different backgrounds, one community committed to the truth, justice, and seeing one another as human beings rather than characters in someone else's narrative. This is Ocean Springs I had the privilege of experiencing, and these are people I'm grateful to now call friends, which I truly find, pretty amazing. I truly do. Within this, I look at the simple fact, you seeing what has happened, and I'm not telling people, that you have to be buddy within this and this, that, and the other, especially, when it comes down to Nolan Wells' parents and stuff like that. But I truly feel as if having people work together and stop putting race on everything. I was just looking today on how many things just put in respect of just race. They put race with every single thing. It can be the smallest thing, and they bring up race. It's just like that thing that I always talk about is when something to do with anything, they'll put Trump's name in it. I'm telling y'all, it's one of those things. It has to do. And a couple of things I saw yesterday. You scroll TikTok or something. I would see something. It has something to do with race, and it's truly sickening. I'm telling y'all. You have it right here, and this just goes to show you on more so of, of what they're pushing for. What they're doing. And it's truly sad of what they're doing. You have it right here. And they put, Hakeem Jeffries in the picture. And I truly find it interesting because, again, it's more so of putting their faces out there, putting their names out there. It has a lot to do with money. It has a lot to do with voting. It has a lot to do with that rather than actually, okay, let's get this together and let's figure this out. One thing about it, somebody that's actually trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, come on now. Hakeem Jeffries. They bring a Hakeem Jeffries into the picture. We ain't going to talk about Big Carl Al Sharpton. But now you seeing of what they're doing is more so like they're going on tour. It's truly sickening to me. Truly is.
I don't know what happened, but I got your history in Mississippi. And the history tells me black boy go out with three white kids come back. There's a blurred story on what happened. Now y'all all hostile and all upset. Didn't have the keys, but then you had the keys. some about this don't make sense given your history. And I'm going to stay on this until we find out what happened. It may be nothing, but we're not going to leave that up to chance with people that are distorted. We're going to stay on this case. And lastly,
he's a sickening person.
Lastly, since they want to talk about lawsuits, one of the things tying your morning together, Tiffany, they may come back, as you suggested, playing right-wing politics with this, with the local prosecutor, maybe even with the federal people. But if we have a change in January and there is a Democratic House, I said that if Hakeem becomes the speaker, he needs to have the chair of judiciary subpoena them to the Judiciary Department, testify on the oath. That's what this vote means. We need to have a check and balance of government.
Like I've said, and like I'll continue to say, this has a lot to do with them bringing in and bringing in the political side with things. They want you, Democrat. They're pushing everybody away. And it's sad that they try to find these holes to do it. And this hole, the hole that they're doing this in is somebody that I've heard, that was an amazing individual, Nolan Wells. Amazing individual, and you got them that are truly making this out to be more so of vote Democrat and Hakeem Jeffries. And when I seen for the first time Hakeem Jeffries was in the picture, I already knew what this was. And I'm sure y'all did too. You have right here, people are continue to make up these false narratives. Check this, ignorant.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Ahmadai Shakur. So there's some very interesting details
Gotta
that
stop
continue
myself.
to come out in the case of Nolan Wells. Let's get into it. You all remember when Trayston was on the Rage Batum Tap Dancing Tatum's show, and he said that on July the 5th, they got up and they went out there to Horn Island to search for Nolan, but they were told by officials that they weren't needed and that their officials were basically the professionals and that they could leave. Now, I thought that was all interesting, seeing as how the night before, they weren't so concerned about Nolan, okay, for most of the day and the evening because they were partying at Ava's house, and Warren was there too, but he wasn't partying. You see, he was upstairs, sitting on the sofa.
Let me tell y'all something. I ain't trying to make up an excuse, but when a friend tell you leave or I'm good and they with a chick, leave that alone. That ain't got nothing to do with you. If you applying yourself, that mean you want her. Or that mean you interfering in what they got going on. That ain't how that work. So what she's saying, I'm not agreeing with.
Talking to Ava's father about boats, okay? Do you all think that's what they were really talking about? I mean, I have my suspicions, but I'll keep that to myself. Okay, please pay attention. I just thought it was interesting that, they were out having this good time the night before, and then the next day they suddenly want to do a search. I also thought it was interesting that they thought that if Nolan wasn't answering their calls or they hadn't heard from Nolan, that they need to send the Coast Guard out there to Horn Island, that people needed to be checking the water in the island. Now, that was just a little bit strange to me because if, as they claim, Nolan was out there with a young lady and said he was going to catch a ride, why wouldn't they just think that maybe he was somewhere on land? That is actually what they thought, according to Warren, because he said that when Tashima came by the house to retrieve the phone, there was a gentleman there who'd gone to school with him, and he went outside and talked to him, and this person said that maybe Nolan's asleep on someone's sofa. And then Warren said, yeah, maybe he is. So he didn't seem so worried then, and he even talked about a friend of theirs who called and was very irate, and then the person ended up hanging up on them. So clearly that person was even more upset than they even were, but the next day, yeah, they wanted to get up and do a search of the island. I just thought that was interesting. But let's continue.
You thought it was interesting that they got up and went on the search for their friend. But if they didn't get up and go on the search for their friend, I'm sure she'll say that's interesting too. Right?
Another thing I find very interesting is all the ties and connections and links between these people. Okay, for example, Morgan and Warren are practically family. I mean,
what is that? What does that got to do with anything? Just because they're family. I've had plenty of best friends and stuff like that I was real close with because of their family. I was even that friend. Or that best friend.
Biological mother, that is, Katie
That's
Hudson
crazy.
Seymour, is in a relationship with I do believe David Seymour, who is Morgan Seymour's uncle, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, please pay attention. Sheriff Ledbetter is good friends with Governor Tate Reeves, according to Governor Reeves himself. Also, he's good friends with Representative Ezell, who is, by the way, his former boss. And not to mention, Ledbetter's grandfather was once the sheriff, and his father or his grandfather was
don't even know.
good friends with Representative Ezell's grandfather. So they have multi-generational ties. Okay, please pay attention. Also, let's not forget about Judge Ashley Cole and her ties to the very prominent and elite family, the Treherns. Okay, she was affiliated with them by a previous marriage before marrying Warren's father, Dr. Benjamin Hudson. Now, she still uses that last name on occasion, clearly because it's a well-known name and because of the amount of respect and the prominence that they have in Ocean Springs. Okay, please pay attention. I mean, these people.
She keep on saying pay attention. She's not saying nothing. And I think it's about a rap. Listen to her because she's honestly all over the place. She clearly doesn't know nothing. I'm going to tell y'all right now, from the looks of things and from the sounds of things, from what I've gathered and for what I've seen ever since even seeing this case, I look at the simple fact that everybody know everybody. And what Nolan Wells' parents is saying, his stepfather and his mom, we don't know of these friends, we don't know of this, we don't know of that. I'm going to tell y'all right now, I feel like it's one of those families, everybody knows everybody. And now that Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, they came in the picture, we don't know them. We don't surround ourselves with them. And I find that a little bit interesting, me personally. Not to mention, we've talked about help. We've talked about things that can potentially help out with the case. Brandon Tatum, the individual that whoever Divine is, I shouldn't even have said her name. She doesn't make sense at all. Nolan Wells' family is ready to have his phone examined, but their attorney says they're still waiting on the Jackson County District Attorney Office to set a date. Let me tell y'all something. It's been over a month. What is it possibly that they're trying to hide? That's what runs through my mind. What are they trying to hide to have that? Because I look at the simple fact, when it comes to the FBI, when it comes down to having his phone examined, they can find things even if things were deleted. And if it's nothing, then it's nothing. But one thing about it is one of those things of we pushing off everything so we can keep this name, we can keep this fame, and it has a lot to do with money. That's how I look at it. And why I look at it that way is because check these videos out.
Also, too, with all the negativity online, I think when we go out and people see us and we see the support, it overshadows the negativity because,
that's great.
It is.
This
is
just a small portion of people who half of them don't know nothing from the man in the moon.
Never met our child, nothing.
We're getting support and love from people all over the country who recognize us, walk up to us, give us their support, give us their love, and that we appreciate that so much because we know if they're in tune with us that much that they're taking that same energy home to their family and displaying that love to their children.
And let me tell y'all something. One thing about this is I love the simple fact, at times that the stepfather speaks about certain things. But I don't like the way that they're pushing it. I don't like the way the people that's around them that's doing this. And even them doing that, because I know deep down this can't be the people that they are. I know y'all probably gonna say, "Oh, you reckless, you in denial, this, that, and the other." It just doesn't seem like it to me. After seeing the text with her and Warren, just seeing the things, like I truly feel like it's one of those changes because Ben Crump and Al Sharpton has entered the picture. Not to say it's an excuse for them, because they are wrong, especially the next clip I'm gonna show y'all. But we're not taking that away. I'm not about to sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, they shouldn't find out if something actually happened." Yes, they should. Something happened to Nolan. Yes, I speak, and I've heard great things about Nolan. I'm sure he was a very nice young gentleman. I've heard from his friends, from his family, everybody that was around him, coaches and all. But then, you have, his parents, and they speaking, we've heard people that don't even know him, and they, they're saying this and they supporting and this, that, and the other. It's not that people aren't wanting to support Nolan Wells. I have people in my comments all the time that's speaking and supporting, if something actually happened to Nolan Wells. It's the simple fact of what his parents and Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and the rest of them are pushing. And then you have stuff like this. Check it out.
There's millions of people around the country, around the world who are watching you, and they're sending love, light.
Yes.
What do you need most in this moment from the community?
Most in this moment, I would say just continue the prayers. Like when I say that alone, that's the thing you have to remember. It may not be our time, but it's God's time.
Yeah.
But if we stay faithful in prayer and we stay faithful in hope, knowing that God is going to take care of things, we'll be okay. So prayer. And like we said before, if you can, the GoFundMe is very much still open.
Yes.
That is appreciated. But if not, prayers are just as good.
Yes. No.
Play this last part from y'all again. Hold on.
Is going to take care of things, we'll be okay. So prayer. And like we said before, if you can, the GoFundMe is very much still open.
Yes.
That is appreciated. But if
GoFundMe
not, prayers are just as good.
It's still open. Why would you say something like that? The GoFundMe is still open. I'm going to tell y'all one thing for sure. The amount of support that they have, the donations, not even just the GoFundMe, from other celebrities and stuff like that, it's more so of like, we gonna get known and we gonna get rich off of this. That's what vibe is giving. That's what vibe is giving. Me personally, and I don't want to be that person, but and I've said. I'm not even about to sit here and be that person that's like, oh yeah, they, what I mean? Like they shouldn't get money for a GoFundMe and this, that, and the other. Of course, to pay for things, of Nolan Wells, his funeral, which they said Tyler Perry was paying for, his gravestone and stuff like that. Of course, but it was at like 700,000, the goal. Now it's at 950, and it's like they keep raising and they keep asking for more and more money. And that's when it becomes to be a little bit like questionable, like, what are we doing? What truly are we doing? And that's what makes it a little bit odd to me. And I find it very interesting of what they're doing and what they're pushing for. Why the GoFundMe is still open. Keep donating to the GoFundMe. And then on top of that, what makes it even more is that I don't see that they're, and that maybe, we don't see anything that's behind closed doors. But at the same time, we talking about a phone that has been shown over a month. Haven't turned that in. They're denying interviews. They don't want to talk to this person. They don't want to talk to that person. What is it? How are you showing that? You know what I mean? Only thing that I'm seeing is faces of celebrities, politicians that's getting their face out there, and money. That's it. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Catch y'all next one.